My name is Aaron. I have the privilege of running the Africa office for Nest. Nest has been, in Africa for the last 2 years. It's been a really, really exciting journey. Meta is about catalyzing the resources that already exist here. We decided to launch this sort of early last year. We took the property roughly around June, July last year, and we've launched in December. We now have more than 200 members who are startups, investors, and experts. We've now held more than 200 events as well, and we've had more than 4,000 people pass through the space, right? And that's over a period of 2 months. We've really seen complete turnarounds once people have stepped out, and once people have stepped out and tried to grow their businesses in other markets, because you also realize the pace at which the rest of the world works, and I guess a little bit of the ruthlessness and sort of what you're up against, right? Because competition is global. Just because you have dominated the Kenya market doesn't mean that someone else can't come in to really, still take that from you. So again, I think those have been incredibly successful. For me to be able to see, African technology getting adopted by some of the world's biggest organizations, which would traditionally buy all their technology from the West, I mean, that is, really tremendously personally satisfying, right? I mean, that to me is like, my job is done, I can leave and relax on the beach for the rest of my time, right? So we've really seen that huge change. But what's more important is that it's infectious. There's a lot of virality to sending 4 or 5 startups to our programs in Singapore, Hong Kong, because they come back and they talk about it, right? They go, hey, but every person they meet, they talk a little bit about it. They plant the seed of that idea. So it's been really, really cool. We've been working with a few startups as well to understand how incorporating in Asia or maybe setting up a second base in Asia might make sense for them to access 3 things. One is for market access. Obviously, Asia has an incredibly strong consumer market story. Spending power is going through the roof. Very similar to Africa, where very young population, very mobile savvy. A lot of these economies are also just opening up. And so I think a lot of solutions built here can very easily be applied. So market access, for sure. Second bit is technical expertise access. As much as Kenya is starting to build capacity to develop software and sort of at the sort of the base stages, I do think when it comes to highly technically rigorous and highly advanced pieces of technology, you would still need access to expertise that doesn't exist here, right? So can a Kenyan startup set up a base in Singapore, for example, to access data scientists that are based there, right? And finally, it's investor access. Move to somewhere where there are a lot of investors who understand Africa a little bit, who definitely understand payment technology, who definitely understand this story of an emerging middle class and understand emerging markets, right? Many markets in Asia, if you look at demographics and statistics, were, where Africa was, 5-10 years ago, right? So the path has already been walked. So they will understand the opportunity as well. So I think it's really important for founders to also be, geographically mobile, to be able to take advantage of all these opportunities. So again, just to recap, I think that having more founders work alongside other founders in the rest of the world is really, really key, because it plants the seed of, hey, there are markets outside, there are expertise outside, and there are investors outside. One of the key challenges that we are facing as entrepreneurs trying to help entrepreneurs, because that's certainly how we view ourselves, is this idea that a lot of founders in this part of the world have, right? Which is, because I'm in Africa, because I'm an entrepreneur, I deserve as much support and attention as I deserve a whole ton of support and attention, right? And I don't think that's right? I think that this maybe is a bit controversial, but I do think there is still a lot of entitlement in the ecosystem, where there has been a lot of NGO funding coming through. A lot of DFIs have poured in a lot of money in capacity building to make sure that entrepreneurs have the right kind of support that they need, right? And I think they've taken this for granted. They have really kind of looked at it and said, of course you want to help me, right? Of course I deserve your help. But I think the conversation that I love having with the entrepreneurs that come to the club is, yes, I know I need technical expertise here, I need some networks here, I need some more market opportunities here, but here's actually what I want to give, right? So the great news and the great bit about why we really love our members at Meta is because the first question we ask them, even if you're running a small startup with 2 or 3 people, is what do you want to do to help the rest of the ecosystem? What do you want to do to give to your other founders, right? What can you help with? Whether that's your product, whether that's your service, whether it's your time. A lot of founders just want someone else to share their problems with and to bounce their ideas off, ideally in a non-competing industry. And that's helping too, right? So I think at Meta, we're really trying to change this piece from what can I get to what can I give, which I think really, really, really needs to happen. And also just this, focus around making sure that the business is actually profitable and not just profitable because of grants or because of any other sort of support that you're getting. We've launched a new series of programs. It's called the Catalyst program. It's going to be looking at a different sector every month. So these are a series of 2-week programs, usually consisting of about 6 to 7 workshops, culminating in a very short demo day as well. We will also be looking at 12 different sectors across the year. So in February, we're starting with education. In June, we're going into health. In May, we're doing blockchain. I think somewhere at the end of the year, we're doing sort of social enterprise. So what we want to do is be able to take, 10 to 15 entrepreneurs and even intrapreneurs as well, right? We don't discriminate. If you're innovating within an organization, we absolutely want you to be a part of this as well. To take 10 or 15 of them through these 2-week programs, and we're very excited at the end of the year, we would have anywhere between 120 to 180 innovators in 12 different sectors who would all have gone through a similar program. And to see them come together and sort of see what they can build together, that to me would be pretty exciting. So again, in February, we're starting with education. And next month, we're going into property technology. I know property is very near and dear to a lot of Kenyans' hearts. So we're very excited at that one as well. Look, I think Nest over the last 2 years has gone from being just a venture fund to being a venture fund with an innovation arm, to being a venture fund with an innovation arm and an ecosystem pillar, which is Meta. It's gone from being based purely in Hong Kong to being based in 8 cities now across the world in 2 years. So if you project that out 5 years on, you could very easily see us in 16, 30 cities. You could see 15 different Metas connecting the world, and having the same membership base move across them and having all those resources being shared.
I am Maurice Otieno. I'm the head of ecosystem development and operations at Meta. Basically, that entails a lot of sales and marketing, being the face of Meta out there, going to a couple of events representing Meta, as well as doing a bit of operations, that is the finance bit, taking a bit of hiring process with our interns and new staff, just walking them through what we are doing at Meta. Yeah, so that's basically what I do at Meta. I founded my own company, which is basically a camping company solely for camping, called Camp No Camping. But then with that, I got to a bit more interested in what startup life is, what entrepreneurship is, and I got to meet a couple of guys, including Aaron. With that, I think it just fell in place, and being that Meta was starting up, I came in first as somebody who's developing a curriculum, being with my background from Strathmore. So I had it through my networks, and that's how I joined Meta. And starting over Meta was not also something new, because I'd started a company before, and being part of Meta is completely a new idea in a new market. Basically, being a startup, I mean, you have very limited resources, but you have a point to prove, or you have a business idea to prove. And Meta was just another business I was starting, or being part of another thing that I'm part of starting. And that's how it became passionate to me to join the Meta team. And being that Meta was solving a solution that I faced as an entrepreneur, where majorly it was not about the money, it was not about the passion, but it was about the collaborations that I need to get out there. With that solution, it gave, I was just born into it, and I think I like it being here. The other thing is, being that working at Strathmore gave me a bit of the executive experience, working with big time executives from big corporates, and just seeing how they think through stuff, and being that they're being taken through this curriculum that is considered to be the most prestigious curriculum in East and Central Africa, basically. And then coming over to this other side where you're working with entrepreneurs, where you don't have a set curriculum of how they should follow what class or anything. Basically just following your guts and training them through the unconventional ways. Yeah. So that difference in bits of the curriculum and also the execution bit of it was a bit challenging, but it's pretty exciting on this other end where you learn through your experience. The other side is that you learn through this set curriculum. Both of them are good because, I mean, with the Kenyan culture of like you have to have papers, this is also very important for you to survive. But with the entrepreneurial culture that you have to experience it, the other side becomes more interesting. And I will give a story of one of the startups that we are working with here, and how they are inculcating the business mind of people through kids. So they start with kids between the age of 13 to 16, and they take them through a training where the first cohort is they are going through a business modeling cohort or ideation. The second one is a partnership and mentorship. Then they finally come up with business ideas. And these are kids who, some of them are homeschooled, where they don't have the papers, yeah, but they have brilliant ideas, but that makes them more successful. The other thing is we've seen a couple of businesses crossing over from Africa to Asia, because, I mean, Africa is a good place to be because there's a lot of problems. That means there's a lot of solutions that you can come up with as a business. But then also some problems that we face here makes us to be more idea oriented and more innovation and disruption oriented. That if you take it back to some established markets or forward thinking markets like Southeast Asia or Europe or the States, then you become somebody who's thinking outside the box. And that's what I want to bring in. So for example, with having one of our startups, just crossing over to Asia and working with Uber Eats to offer some CRM solutions. Still unconventional, but then based on the problems that we're facing here, we have a lot of solutions than the more advanced markets who are now looking for more, let's say, efficiency and more prestige solutions. For us, we are looking for more survival solutions, which if we take back to these markets becomes something that you can never buy. So Meta being a global platform, not only for Kenyans. I know entrepreneurship is not different in Kenya and in other places. I would like to also to just venture and grow the Meta dream into other venues. My passion is being Southeast Asia, potentially open up a couple of them in Africa, being Ghana and Nigeria are vibrant. But my aim is to go out there and get the experience outside Africa and bring it back. Bring it back in such a way that I've learned what is working here and what is working there, and what can I bring in to change this ecosystem in a better way. That's my main aim. So maybe potentially in the next 2-3 years, going into either Singapore, Japan, or any other venue that Meta wants to launch out there, and bring back the learnings, bringing it back to Kenya and bringing it back to Africa. Just ideating it to give Africans solutions by Africans.
For me, what makes it all worthwhile is being able to deliver opportunities and capabilities to founders that I know are going to be successful, but let's make them successful quicker. Let's make them more successful than they thought they could be. And that to me is tremendously satisfying, because if you look at every founder that we touch, every founder that we send on these programs, every founder that we connect to one of our partners in the world, I mean, that is something that many of them would not have access to at all.
Yeah.
It's a great time to be in Africa. It's a great time to be driving this agenda in Africa. I think the people are ready.
Yeah.
I think the businesses are ready. I think governments are certainly getting ready. And so let's just see what happens in the next 5 years. And I'd rather be a part of the story than read about it somewhere else.
So the only thing I would like to tell guys is that your innovation or your thinking is only limited by your imagination. So if you can imagine that this is what you could do for the startups or the businesses to change lives, basically, then you can do it.